Aloha everybody, I'm Dr. Chip Abadesi with Kaneohe Family Chiropractic. I've been in practice for over 32 years, 22 of those years in Kaneohe. And today I'd like to talk to you about proper ergonomics, spinal ergonomics. So what does that mean? That means keeping your spine in a healthy position, whether it's sitting, standing, bending, sleeping, all the things that we do throughout the day. And unfortunately, much of our lifestyle now is either at a desk or a computer or a tablet where it actually causes real damage to the spine and sometimes to the central nervous system. So to give you an overview, let's talk a little bit about how the body is structured, how the body is built. Okay, first of all, the body runs and heals itself. You want to call it an inner wisdom or an innate intelligence. The body directs all that healing through your central nervous system. So your central nervous system is basically your brain, your spinal cord, and all the nerves that come through your spine. And that's going on 50,000 billion times a second, those signals going back and forth between the brain and the body. Okay, so there's two different pathways that come through your spine. One is called your autonomic nervous system. You want to think about it as your automatic nervous system. If the body was a computer, your autonomic nervous system would be like your operating software. It's doing everything behind the scenes, beating your heart, digesting your food, working your immune system, all the things that we don't fortunately have to think about on a daily basis. Okay, there's a second part of your nervous system called your spinal nerves. So your spinal nerves, for example, in your neck go all the way down into your hands and fingers, and from your lower back all the way down to your toes. Now, any sort of problem in your neck can actually lead to symptoms down your hand, for example, or a pinched nerve in your back may go down your leg in the form of what we call sciatica. Okay, so for the basic anatomy, the front view of your spine should be straight up and down. Let's take a look at, okay, so from the front view, again, everything straight down the middle. Now that means that the weight of your body is evenly distributed throughout your spine. There's not one segment that has to bear more weight than another above or below it. Now, if your body is shifted one way or the other, or the shoulders are off, or your hips are unlevel, then that's going to cause areas of the spine to be under more pressure or stress than they were designed to bear. Those areas will degenerate. Okay, this is dangerous because the discs get thinner and weaker, but the bone starts to thicken, and sometimes that thick bone or those bone spurs can actually grow into the nerves themselves. And sometimes it's permanent damage, especially if it's done to your spinal cord. Now the side view of your spine is much different. The side view has these three separate curves, and this is really important to remember anytime we talk about ergonomics. Okay, so these three curves have to stay in the same plane to be healthy: your neck, your middle back, and lower back. So let's talk about standing, for example. That's pretty simple. You want to make sure that these three curves are straight over each other. We want to avoid what we call the forward head posture, where the head is forward. Much of that comes from the rib cage coming down. Okay, once the rib cage comes down, it's impossible to get your head back up in a normal position. It decreases the amount of breath you can take in, and it slows down your metabolism. So the first step for proper ergonomics when you're standing is to try to make your stomach as long as possible, and then to bring your shoulders back. Okay, and that automatically begins to straighten up your posture. It's one of the key things you can do. Now, one of the things I recommend is also a strength training program on a regular basis to work some of these postural muscles that you may not activate through the course of your day. Much of what we do ergonomically is in front of us and pushing, whereas what we really want to focus on is bringing things back and open and pulling. The exercises that you want to really focus on are the pulling exercises that help to broaden your chest and keep your shoulder blades together, because again, in many cases, those shoulder blades will roll forward as the head comes forward as well. Okay, so that's standing. Let's talk about, for example, sitting. Same thing applies. You want to maintain that forward curve in your lower back. So many people use either a support or a roll, and they tuck it right underneath that small of their lower back this way. And again, that's going to support the weight towards the back part of the spine, which is the strong structure, not the soft discs in the front. Because what many people will do is they sit on a nice soft couch and their curve will actually go backwards, and then their mid-back will be more hunched, and that's like a double whammy. It affects the entire spine from top to bottom when the base is off like this. Now this is really important when it comes to lifting too. You want to maintain that healthy forward curve. So in the gym, I've seen people lift several hundred pounds off the floor and do it in such a way that there's very little stress on their lower back. But I've also seen people rupture a disc bending over to pick up a child or bend over to pick up a pencil, and they did it improperly where they put all that weight forward on the discs and it popped one of those discs. that gel material in the center of the disc actually can rupture out the side and push right up against the nerve, and then you've got perhaps a surgical intervention, which is always kind of iffy. Okay, let's talk about sleeping. So there's a couple different sleeping positions. We'll go through the worst first. Okay, sleeping on your stomach is the worst position to sleep in. Okay, because your body has to do all sorts of contortions. Your head has to be to one side. It may be pushed backwards. Your hips may be unlevel. You got one leg up. You're in the fetal position. So all that puts a huge amount of stress on your spine. Another clue is if you wake up sore or you wake up not feeling quite right, chances are it's your sleeping position. So let's talk about the next best position, and that's sleeping on your side. Okay, so when you're on your side, you want to try to maintain kind of a parallel to the floor of the bed. Okay, what I commonly see is, again, either the fetal position or one thing is twisted over the other. Your leg is over or your shoulders are one direction, or maybe you do the swimmer thing where you got one arm up while you're trying to sleep. Okay, all that is really going to, over time, damage your spine. So to make side sleeping better, I recommend, they call it a pregnancy pillow or a body pillow. Sometimes it looks like a big giant roll or a big giant candy cane, and that's to put between your knees and up against your chest and underneath your ear, so your spine, again, stays in that nice parallel with the floor, with the bed position. Okay, let's talk about the best position to sleep in. That's going to be on your back. Okay, so when you're on your back, what you want to avoid is putting anything underneath your head itself, because you're going to just accentuate that forward head position. That's not going to be good. You want just a roll or a support underneath your neck. So as a general rule, the roll is about as thick as your neck, underneath your neck, right below your hairline. Okay, so that's going to help support that nice natural curve. You may know that in ancient China or Japan, they used to have these ceramic half-moon things that you rest your neck on for sleeping, and they knew instinctively that that was a healthy thing to have. Okay, and now the other end of the spectrum is that you want to elevate your knees somewhat. That helps to keep your lower back in a more neutral position. So some people use either a big pillow, a couch cushion, even something that big. Some may put one pillow under one knee only, and that helps to keep them more comfortable. And that really is the ideal sleeping position. The other thing that's important for ergonomics is motion. Okay, so all the joints in your body do not have a direct blood supply. They depend on joint fluid, which depends on motion in order to circulate that joint fluid. And when we sit for long periods of time, basically there's no more movement of your spine. Okay, so those joints can actually decay from a lack of motion due to the lack of joint fluid. So if you have a standing work desk or standing workstation, is much better than sitting at a desk all day. Or if you do have to sit, fidget a little bit, keep your spine moving, do a little dance in your seat. Again, one of the secrets to exercise is not so much the exercise itself, but it's forcing you to breathe deeply. And that's something you can do sitting at your desk. Nobody has to even notice that you're doing these deep breathing exercises that will, of course, boost your metabolism as well in the process. Okay, so I hope you learned a few things today about taking care of your spine, because it has to last you a lifetime. Science is still yet to figure out how to design a spine replacement. There's no dentures for your spine. So the sooner that you start taking care of it, the better. So I want to thank you again for your time today. And there's more resources on my website. It's 808-SPINE, 808spine.com. And again, I'm Dr. Chip Abadessa with Kaneohe Family Chiropractic. Thank you.